Sitecore Experienced, Episode 6, recorded July 18th, 2015.
Welcome to Sitecore Experience.
Sitecore Experienced, a video podcast to showcase information related to Sitecore for the benefit of the Sitecore community.
Hey, welcome to episode 6. I'm Mark Survey.
Welcome back. Well, I'm Jamie Stump. I'm cutting you off.
That's perfectly fine. That's why we have editing, Jamie.
It's true.
So, how are things going, Jamie? I know I've been busy. We had John West at the Milwaukee Sitecore user group.
Very special guest.
Yeah, definitely. So he told us his life story essentially on his journey through programming, academics really, and kind of from getting from start to where he is today as far as tech. And it was really interesting. I mean, we're kind of in that same era of how tech had started. You know, I think the Commodore 64 days, stuff like that, right? Yes. So we got some similar lineage there. Mine was more on the Apple IIe side, more than anything else. But yeah, I mean, that was it was interesting to hear him talk about that. We had a nice little dinner. There's some pictures posted of some arm wrestling, other activities.
Did you win?
There was really no arm wrestling. There's no XSLT coming back. I wouldn't arm wrestle. I'd lose that, man, on purpose. I'd be like, right? So, no, it was a good time. Always good when people come into town. We have a chance to kind of hang out and talk and just talk about general stuff. So,
absolutely. Very
awesome. So, we've talked as well over the last couple of weeks.
Yes, we have.
So, you had a permissions issue on an image that you ended up correcting.
I did. So it was an image. It was part of my my Sitecore built website, but it was an image that actually is part of source code file. It's served up from the file system. It's not served up from the media library, and we were getting 404 errors on it. And I went through and couldn't figure out what it was, and ended up having to give everyone, I don't know, is that even an account? I had to give everyone permissions to the file and the folder, and then it magically started working for everyone.
You know, I had a similar problem after I talked to you about that one with one of our architects at work. He had a problem with Sitecore 8, just wasn't really acting correctly, and so we took a look. I mean, he had called me, and I'm like, well, let's take a look at the app pool, and it was actually underneath identity versus like a true account. So it wasn't like I had him change it over to network service, and then change the directory and add network service to the permissions for the files in the directory. And he was up and running and going well. But obviously this wasn't a production box, so it was no big deal to do that. But yeah. So I mean, there's little things always to look for, right?
Yes, always. Permissions.
And you had a SQL thing too, didn't you?
I did. So I was going from being in-proc in-proc session management to SQL session management, and going through the docs of how you configure Sitecore properly to do that. It mentions that you should run this performance boost SQL file. So the problem with the doc is that it doesn't tell you where in the world you're supposed to find this performance boost SQL. I do my installs with the Sitecore EXE. I just find it easier than doing things manually. So I had none of this file. So I went to the Sitecore site. I downloaded the zip file of the Sitecore base install. Found the performance boost.sql in there, thought, okay, now I found it, now I just have to run it against my sessions database like it tells me to. I ran it against my sessions database like it tells me to, and it promptly deleted the 2 tables in that database for me. So yeah, whoops.
Uh-oh.
So I guess what I've determined out of that experience is maybe the performance boost is if you only do the manual from the zip file installation of Sitecore. If you use the exe, my guess is it's already run against the database you get automatically from the exe. So that's what I'm going with. If you try this on your own, I would recommend backing up your sessions database before you run the script, just in case.
Yeah, go find or create new tables when you're done. One of the two, right?
Yes, I mean the good news is the tables were blank.
Cool.
So I just restored from a different environment that I hadn't run the script against, and everything was fine.
Perfect. And I've been fighting with Speak too, which I don't even want to talk about that. I love it and I hate it all at the same time. And right now where I left off, I hate it. Just where I left off last. I'll love it again Monday morning.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how it works, right?
That is always how it works.
All right, cool. Let's get into find out what's going on in the community.
Let's do it. Alright, so community happenings. We're going to start off with some sad news, to be honest. On CMS Wire, in early July, they posted an article here that Sitecore had to cut some of its global workforce. Certainly sad news. If you read through the article, it basically, they have some quotes that, Sitecore says everything's fine, there's nothing wrong, this is a global shifting. I would agree, one of the comments in here is that the demand from Sitecore seems to be going larger or ramping up rather than dying down or dwindling at all. I would say from experience I would agree with that. It certainly seems there's still high demand. But nevertheless, it's always sad and unfortunate news to hear about people who are losing their jobs. We certainly wish those people the best and hope everyone lands on their feet.
Yeah, I know. I there's a couple people that I was connected with that ended up getting cut out of this. A trainer, and then I think one of the Midwest reps ended up having was part of the reduction. And then a former employee who's former because of prior to this reduction actually had posted something about potential buyout, and I'm not so sure that's the goal here. One never knows, but there's always been talk about somebody buying Sitecore, right? So I don't think this is it, though. This looked like it was 100 to 150 employees, mostly in Europe. So we'll just kind of keep an eye on it. But yeah, it is sad news, Jamie.
Yeah, definitely. Again, best of luck to all these people. Moving on, I believe next up, so we have a discussion from community. Again, if you're not on community.sitecore.net, please get on it. It's really so much better than what we dealt with before this. So it's really cool that this seems to be getting a lot of steam. Everyone should be on it. Anyway, off my high horse. Here's a specific post about Xamarin Sitecore mobile app and sort of is there any documentation out there for people. The good news is there's some replies here that give you some great documentation to take a look at. This is something, Mark, that you and I have discussed, and I actually have a connection with a Xamarin developer. He is not a Sitecore developer, but he's a Xamarin developer, and in a future episode we plan on having him come on and sort of give us an intro to Xamarin, which I really look forward to. I'm looking forward to that as well. I think it's something that, from a UI perspective, I don't get enough of. And I went to a local user group, .NET user group, Xamarin presentation from a Microsoft MVP. So I'm interested to see what your guy's doing. He's probably working with it a little bit more in the trenches, and so it'll be interesting to see at least the Xamarin view, and then we have to kind of come away with that from a Sitecore community on our part of that integration and with the SDK and everything else. So. Wonderful stuff, and I'm looking forward to that. Yes, very definitely. Much. So if you're looking into mobile apps, check out this post on community for some good information. Yep. So I found this lovely little article. Patrick Perrone
here's one thing. You know, when we talk about experience analytics and solar now since Series 7 of Sitecore, basic tips to prevent solar downtime. So there's some really good stuff in here. Just some best practices on, you can see logging, more or less your setups, cache the secondary cores. Patrick definitely comes in here and basically if you're not using them, you're doing it wrong. You know how much I love those words, Jamie, doing it wrong, because if you're getting done what you need to get done, but you know, take this, give this a little read, especially if you're using solar. If you're considering solar, definitely some good practices in here to follow when you're looking at things. So you definitely want your solar to be up for the search for your site and not have to take it down. That was one thing with Lucene once in a while in the earlier versions that really caused a lot of heartache.
Yep.
And then another one is from our episode 2 guest, Mike Reynolds, and this really is a conversation or a blog post that he had referred to from Nick Wesselman, and this is really Nick's post originally wasn't. There's a link into it here. Really about using Hibernate and as an ORM to really kind of enhance the external data stores of Sitecore. Mike kind of dives into this a little bit, and the typical Mike Reynolds fashion, there's a buttload of code in here. And by buttload, I mean a buttload. So, but good code. You're covering almost everything under the sun here. But yeah, this is a good read. Sitecore, as we talked in the episode that we just did, Jamie, with where you gave the overview, or I chimed in and you gave the overview. It's my smart-ass comments inside. This is an enterprise tool. It's an enterprise platform. Yes. And so being able to kind of extend this into getting other data sources in, and you can see data provider example here. This is a great read of really leveraging that investment for your enterprise, for your companies, for the companies that as a partner, maybe if you're with a partner company that are your clients. So highly recommend it. This is a good one from Mike. So
absolutely. There's a lot of code in that blog post.
There's a lot of code in that blog post. Mike must have had a little free time, I'm thinking, and just said, you know, I'm just going to code and try to make the biggest, longest scrolly page I can. And he did.
There you go.
Well, it wasn't the biggest I've ever seen, but yeah, it's pretty damn good. That's all we got for the community. All right, so Marketplace. I found this little gem, the Sitecore Diagnostics Toolset. I think last month is the release date on this, revised this month. And it is for, it had to be out there before the release date. Because look at CMS 6.0. Who uses that anymore? This looks so damn cool. This is a preview, right? These guys are admitting that, hey, we threw this together. There may be some issues. There may be some things. We've all come across issues in production with health. We had to run the tuning process and everything else, and I kind of want to see how this fits into that equation.
Yeah, that's a very cool find. That's why we do this segment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, the next one, Jamie, that you're going to talk about, we didn't find. Right?
So, well, I mean, I guess we didn't find it on our own, but
well, a certain young man made us aware of, hey, you guys should talk about this in a nice, subtle way.
Yes, and because he is a friend of the show and did a wonderful presentation for us recently, we're absolutely happy to talk about this.
Should we mention his name?
Well, his name's on the screen. It's Mr. Michael West.
Oh, there it is. No, yeah, he did. I think it was a tweet, wasn't it?
I'm not sure anymore.
I don't remember. But Michael West reached out to us.
Yes.
And this is what happens when you reach out to us, folks.
There you go.
We will talk about your stuff.
Absolutely. We will respond. So, Michael has a code editor module out there that is sort of a in addition to the standard rich text editor, right? I don't want to say it's a replacement, only because, you know, if you've got a content author who doesn't know HTML, I don't know how well they're going to do the code editor. This thing, the coolest thing to me about this, and Michael's put up some screenshots in the solutions tab that you can sort of preview, is the presentation of this thing just looks awesome. It's almost, you know, the different colors that you've got, and if you scroll through here, he's got one that's got a like sort of an IntelliSense looking thing to help you write some HTML code. Really sharp presentation he's put together here. And I think that's, you know, it's certainly helpful if you're going to go in and you're going to write code. It's nice to have it in this presentation. It makes your life easier rather than sort of what the default editor does with it doesn't indent and it doesn't give you any sort of colors. And if you're trying to figure out if you closed all your tags, you're literally reading through it one by one. This will make your life so much easier. So Michael's a great guy. I would recommend this product, and you know, try it out. I think it looks great.
I think it's very studio-esque. That is now a word.
There you go.
And it's a word because we said it. No, it you know, it's taking characteristics of an IDE that we're used to using and bringing them inside of Sitecore. It also reminds me too of when I do blogs and I need to codify my code in the blog. Take a look at Mike Reynolds' last blog that we talked about, because there's a lot of code there and it's been codified.
Yes.
So, just, you know, display purposes, I think it cleans up nicely. This cleans up very nicely.
Yes, it absolutely does.
So damn easy to read.
It looks polished. I like to see that it looks polished.
Yep. Now, you know, looking at this, I noticed it wasn't out for 8 yet. It could be. I'm not 100% sure. At least it's not listed as a requirement here.
Right.
But, you know, if you're on anything prior to 7.2, this looks like it is for you.
Yep.
At this time. So, Michael, thank you again for bringing this to our attention. Appreciate it.
Yes. Good module.
Najmanowicz is a software developer, application architect, and project manager with substantial experience in the Microsoft .NET Framework stack, Delphi, as well as Java development, and a wide range of RDBM systems such as Microsoft SQLServer, Oracle, and Informix. Adam's here today to talk to us about PowerShell extensions, and he's going to be running through a birth to death, well, we shouldn't really call it death, birth to finish of a module. Adam, welcome.
Welcome, Adam.
Hey, hi Mark. Hi Jamie. Good to be here, and thank you for inviting me. Wow, this is a great experience. A bit scary. I'm going to be.
Mark is scared.
Yeah, I do have that effect on people, Adam.
It's not really about you, because I'm going to tempt the demo gods to no end today. So it's going to be, yeah. Let's hope everything is going to be just fine.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So great introduction. Thank you. It's been a great ride with the PowerShell module. It's been a great team. A little bit of history about the module. It really started in 2010, still on EPiServer. By then, up till 2010, I was an EPiServer MVP. And since 2011, since I switched to Sitecore, I've had a great experience with the Sitecore community, you guys, and all the it's amazing community, and very welcoming and very very enthusiastic. And yeah, so I've decided to rewrite it to the to Sitecore, and here we are 5 years later. It's yeah, it's been generally well received. We've got a great team between Mikey and myself. You know, there is a bit of a story, Mike and Mikey. So we've started the chat, and basically, okay, well, they don't have a problem. There is a mic and there is a mic, but what do I call you, you know, to actually say that I'm addressing one of you? And so Mike West, so yeah, so Mike West but definitely just said, okay, well, they used to call me Mikey, so I'm going to be the Mikey, and Mike Reynolds is going to be the Mike. So yeah, and it's been fantastic 2 years since the guys have joined. They did an amazing work on both, you know, refining my crude ideas and helping with that, and doing amazing work on evangelism. Mike Reynolds is speaking at all kind of conferences, and Mikey has created a series of videos that definitely everyone should watch. And the Sitecore Experience number 4, episode number 4, right?
Yep.
Yeah, there's been a lot of good stuff that I'm not going to repeat in here, but basically the goal of this kind of crash test dummy session is going to be actually to create something from the start, to show some of the new functionality, and basically watch me stumble and try to find out this stuff to actually deliver some value. And I think you're going to enjoy the fact that actually you can do a lot in a very short time. Basically deliver a wide range of functionality without even restarting your Sitecore server once. So that's a really great thing if you think about the tool that you're going to use somewhere, you know, in a data center, in a high availability scenario where you just cannot afford your site to go down any point in time.
I know, you know, I didn't know much about the PowerShell until Mikey did his stuff with us, and I got to play with it a little bit, and I'm still just messing around. I haven't really done really good solid stuff with it. I'm more or less playing at this point.
That's fine, neither have I.
So, but I'm really impressed on what I can do and the possibilities with it. I mean, Mikey really opened up at least my eyes. I won't speak on behalf of Jamie, and I'm sure a lot of the people who watch this as well. You know, so now we knew that you were coming out with a new release, and so I'm really looking forward to see what's in here and what's going on. I know people like Nick Wesselman has been tweeting about things that he's been doing with it, and he's been really happy with it. So it's really good to see that energy in the community with it.
Oh yeah, and recently, I mean, just 2 days ago, I've just read and had Alex Shiba just writing a stellar review on this on the marketplace. So yeah, it is taking off, and guys have done amazing job in evangelizing this. So yeah, actually, funny thing, it kind of sounds like a pattern, because we've just closed the last issue yesterday, and we're going to be releasing a new version on Monday.
Wow!
So we're just about, you know, when you're going to be watching this video, I guess you're going to have the 3.2 downloaded on your machine, and you'll be able to do everything that I can.
Awesome!
Perfect. Excellent. Well, let's see what you got.
All right, so I'm going to show you some of the functionalities that basically that we're we have introduced in the latest release. But most of all, I just want you to be able to create a module and to use the basic functionality really efficiently, and just basically going to show you how personally I am doing this stuff, and how I search for stuff that I'm using during this script, the writing of a solution based on PowerShell. Because it's one thing to read a blog, and it seems like, you know, the person who writes this stuff just basically knows everything, and if you're seeing a presentation, they will just copy a bit of a script, and okay, where did the script come from? How did they know to structure it like this? So I'm just going to write something and refactor it, and then divide it into proper elements, so that you can see how the process really looks like, and how blissful it is. So okay, I've got this in here, which I've just training. And I'm going to create. I'm just going to create a new module, similar like did. Just going to create Sitecore Experience module. And since we're on the brink of the 3.2, I'm just going to create a plugin for ISE, which we've introduced in 3.2. So in the module, Mike has explained what the enable disable module means, but basically every module is kind of a self-contained unit inside of PowerShell ISE, inside of PowerShell environment. If you've watched, if you've been playing with it for a long time, you basically saw those integration points popping up, you know, in the script library. At some point, it just became unmanageable. So I've decided to kind of, you know, basically each of the module is effectively what the whole library used to be, so that you can deploy it like completely independently of other modules, and they will hopefully not interfere with each other. You can make sure that this is not a problem by properly utilizing the structure. So I'm going to create the Sitecore Experience module, and I'm going to create a new ISE plugin, and there we go. So the plugin is here, and you can see that I've got 2 plugins in my ISE. There's really not much in here in the text, so the plugins are right now disabled. Basically, the existing plugins allow you to format the script and find other scripts containing a selected value. So I can say, I can type find dash item, and when I select it, I can press the script containing, and I can find all the scripts that contain the find item text. So how does something like this show up in the ISE? It's basically very similar to the other integration points, and I'm going to just say hello world, and I'm going to save it into the integration.
Okay.
So in the Sitecore Experience module, in the module folder that I've created with the module, I'm going to say let's just find scripts that haven't been published. So you remember that when Mike was showing you the RESTful API, he basically at some point said, okay, well, this didn't work because a script wasn't published. Let's deal with the fact that something is or isn't published, and basically make the Sitecore Experienced module about the fact that an item, or in particular a script, is not published. So so let's call it unpublished scripts containing. Basically, I'm going to find all scripts that contain a bit of a selected word, but scripts that have this additional condition of not being published. So just because of the fact that I've saved it in the plugin folder, made the script available in ISE, and when I will run this script, you will see that actually something happened in ISE. Basically, all the output of the script is kind of put out on the ISE output. But that's not what the script is supposed to be doing. It's supposed to find the items that are not published, but containing a bit of a text. So in an integration point, and in every integration point, we will have some variables that will pass a context. If it's in the tree, you will basically get the get item. We will put you in the context of a particular tree item that is in this context. So if I will change this to get item and execute this script, you will see that actually I'm in the inet server. So in this case, I didn't get any context, but I don't need the context here. I need I will in the scripts that are executed from the as plugins actually need to work with the text from the ISE. So let's see what variables. And I'm you can see that basically, and Mike touched on this as well. Basically, when I type some text and press Control space, you will see the autocomplete kind of IntelliSense kicking in. So when I start typing further, you see that the list is being narrowed. And finally, if it's completely unambiguous, you will just get the full command. Now for this I just need the get variable, because I need to know what is in this integration point. So I'm just going to execute the script, and you can see all the variables that the script is getting. So you can see that we're actually giving you a lot of information about your environment. So we're giving you the Sitecore data folder and all the other folders. And for this, actually, the important thing is that script text, and I'm getting the full script, content and the selection text. So if I will actually select the variable and run it again, you will see that the selection text is variable.
Wow.
So I'm going to need this selection text because I'm going to search for the scripts containing my selection, right? So from there, I'm just going to look through the Sitecore content search to find the text that I have selected. So for this, I'm just going to use the find item commandlet, and since I'm just basically terrible with names, I'm putting as much of IntelliSense everywhere I can, and it's basically because I I don't want to remember this stuff. So, for example, I want to find an item and I want to do it in index. Now, if I press Control Space, you can actually see that I have a list of all the indexes that are available in the environment. And those are dynamically populated. So if you have a non-standard set of indexes, those will show up in here. Now, that's just not. I can display. Let's first 10 items. That's still not very helpful. Those are first 10 items in the index. So I don't really remember what I'm how to define those criteria. So what I'm going to do is press Control Enter, and this is the context help that you will see for pretty much every commandlet that we put in the ISE. So you will see the description of all the parameters with their syntax, and you will see the examples. And I'm going to, and I'm usually just basically putting a lot of examples because I reuse them a lot. And if you have any connected subjects, and this is both for SPE commandlets as well as general PowerShell commandlets. You can see you can click through the commandlets, and those can be, we didn't provide the get item, we just plugged in with the provider, but you can go and hunt for the examples from the original PowerShell. You can see that this is this help is much better than what we have provided, so it must have SPE. Okay, so I want to provide those criteria that I will search by. So I know that I want to search for scripts. So I know that I need to search for template name, which is PowerShell script, and I need to filter those scripts that contain this specific text that I'm getting from the from ISE at my plugin. So I'm just going to copy this. I do, and just copy the criteria, and what I prefer is really like to just divide this into more readable chunks. So I'm just split and put the criteria in their separate lines. So if you want to format your script in multiple lines, and it's not obvious that the next line is going to be not the next commandlet, but it's going to be continuation of the current one. So this comma is making it obvious for PowerShell that there is going to be a continuation because I'm specifying a list. However, after this, I could just stop providing parameters. So I need to provide this quote or tick. It's not the single quote, but the other one. It is on the tilde key.
Okay.
It's going to be just basically telling PowerShell, okay, continue your flow from this commandlet. Okay, so I've got my template, which is PowerShell script. So right now I should be getting only PowerShell scripts, which I do. Now I want to provide an additional criteria, and I want to say that it contains, and again you can see that in the criteria we've got those filters, which is basically one of those operations is contains, and I can say that my script field should contain this variable that I've provided from the ISE. So let me just save that, select, see if it works. Okay, so now I'm only showing some scripts, and those scripts contain the find item. That's better. That's what I want to see. But I actually want to see something to actually have some more criteria. I want to show only items that have not been published, right? This is what the problem that Mikey ran into. So now I want to examine those criterias, those results that I'm getting from find item. But I don't really know what I'm getting, so I'm just going to say assign this to the scripts variable, whatever I'm getting from this commandlet. Just assign it into the script variable, and I want to know what the script really is. So I'm going to pipe it into get member, or GM for short. And I can see, okay, so what I'm having in here is the result search item, search result item, and I have those elements. So how will I verify that it's published? Well, I'm just going to get this path in here, and I'm just going to check whether it exists in the web database. So I'm going to pipe it into where object. And the where object is basically a filter that allows me to kind of examine everything that goes through the pipeline and only pull through the items, the elements that actually have fulfilled the criteria that I'm providing inside of it. So in this where object, I'm going to say where the test path, which is check if path is valid. And in this path I'm going to say, okay, so in the web database I'm going to examine this dollar underscore is whatever came from the pipeline, and so it's a dollar underscore path. Well, this is not going to really work because you cannot just, PowerShell cannot tell that it shouldn't just put the serialized item in here, but you can wrap it in yet another dollar, and in the parentheses, where you can provide your expression, which basically means that whatever is in dollar parentheses, just convert it, just evaluate it. So it's kind of like a mini template engine.
More like a tokenization of sorts?
Yeah, basically like in Velocity. It's just a mini templating engine. Basically it will evaluate whatever is in this. So this is just basically say, okay, it's say true for everything that exists with this path, which is not really what I want. I just want the opposite. I want those that are not in there, right? So when I'm going to finish this pipeline, I should have everything that does not contain this, the element that is selected. So okay, I'm seeing some of it. Let me check. Let me just execute the selection. This is one more thing that we have actually that I've added into SPE in 3.2, is that you can select a piece of script and execute just this. So you can see that we've got quite a few elements in here, but when we're going to add this additional qualifier, we've got only 4. That's good, fine. I've got my scripts that contain this bit of text that are not published, but having them just listed like this is not very friendly. It's just a bit of text. What am I supposed to do with it? So I'm just going to list them. So I'm just going to say, just type it into show view, show list view, and let's see what happens. Hey, got a report.
Nice.
So actually, with those few lines, I've created a functionality in a plugin that will find everything that will find all the scripts that are not published, that contain the text that I've selected. That's not bad for 5.
Not at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Okay, so, but I didn't really have any control. I didn't exercise any control over what is displayed in here. Actually, there is some elements that I don't really want to be here. So I'm going to specify what I really want to display. So I'm going to display a property, and I'm just going to display name. And I would like to display the path of the item, right? So I would have to do it path, but this won't really work. PowerShell won't know what to actually what to show in here. So we have to evaluate it. So for this scenario, what you actually need to do is wrap it in an expression that will tell, okay, so the name of this is going to be path, but what I want to display, the expression that you should evaluate for the purpose of it, is on the item that came from the pipeline, in the path, display this value as the value in the report. So you can see that. Okay, well, you can see that actually the editor is even counting the parentheses, so I can verify that. Okay, now I've got everything closed, and I can execute it, and it didn't show because what did I do wrong? And just save that and execute again. No. See, this is the funny thing. This is first. I know why. Because I'm actually treating this as an item, whereas out of here from the find item, I'm actually getting a content search item, which is like we've established just a moment ago. Doesn't have path, right? What I want to do is I want to transform it into a full Sitecore item, so that I can display all the properties of the item. So let's just sometimes it kind of gets stuck without the ability to edit. What I do when it happens is kind of I just open a dialog and it gets stuck. Okay, so I want to turn it into a Sitecore item. So we've got a commanded for that, and it's called initialize item. Basically, if you the items that we are returning from the provider have additional properties like provider path, and you can assign properties directly into item without calling fields. You can say, like you would assign to a name on a Sitecore item, you you can assign into any onto any field by simply addressing the item, the field name after the dot. So you can say, you know, $item dot script equal and new value. But it's also useful for just converting content search items into items. So now, after some stumbling, I should have a proper thing displayed here. So since I didn't pass any text, this filter just showed me all the Sitecore items, and you can see that the paths work this time. There you go. Some stumbling occurred. So good. Now we can actually say that, you know, that we've that some development happened here that was not really very rehearsed. Okay, so right now, when I will do just this, and on my plugin I will call, it will just show me those two. Those are new Sitecore experienced scripts that are not yet in the web database. Great, so I've got this plugin, but I want to do so much more with it. I want to use it in a toolbox. I want to use it maybe in the context, and then again, maybe I don't have this selection text provided for me. So if it's not, and if I want to test it, and out of ISC, you know, I can call it from the plugin, and that's easy enough. But if I'm testing, I usually just say, okay, so if my text is not defined, because when I'm running it in the ISC, this is not defined, right? It's only defined in the integration point. So if the selection text equals null, so it's this PowerShell notation. They basically they couldn't use the equal or the C# notation, because for example, the greater than already have meaning in languages that in shell languages, because they mean pipe or you know, append to file. So they had to do it differently, right? So they have provided all the operations in a dash, and then EQ, GT, LT, and you know, and match contains this way. So I'm going to say, okay, if the selection equals null, okay, let's ask a user for it. So let's read a variable, and this variable, let's just ask for the selection text. So the name of the variable that I want to ask for is the selection text. Right. So let's execute it. All right. So with this additional line of code, I can actually ask user for a variable, and that gets much better, because we've got a whole set of fields that you can ask user for. You can ask for item, you can ask for rules, you can ask for roles and groups, and text in all kind of. I'm going to show you this in a moment.
And I assume over the dialog too, you have complete control of what you want your labeling to be, what you want the header and everything else to speak, right?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
So I'm just going to say that the title of it is going to see scripts containing what, and let's execute it now. What did I do? Oh, I didn't ID separator here. And actually, since I'm reusing ISE by default is reusing the same session between executions, I need to switch to a one-time session so that our variable is always null. So I'm just going to execute it again. That script.
Nice.
You can specify now in this with additional parameters. You have control over. You can specify. Let's just tick the title for the. It won't. The IntelliSense won't work with the if it's not in the same line. So you can specify the title for the dialogue. So this is a Sitecore experience dialogue with the okay, let's say yo and cancel. Button name says hey.
And those are basically the controller IDs that you're putting in from Speak, correct? And then you're just overlaying the properties.
This is still sheer. It's going to be. It's going to be. It's going to be Speak at some point, but this is still. This
Sheer UI.
Those are still sheer UI. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
I think it's your next line, Adam.
Right. Yeah. So I need to clear this. And we've got Sitecore experience, yo and nay, and all this. You can.
That's
you can
pretty awesome.
You can basically build any kind of dialogue with this. Let's just save it for now, and let's go quickly to an example of the read variable that shows all those elements. And this is basically the whole functionality that will build the dialogue that you're going to see is in here. And it's okay. It feels like there's a bit of script in here, but basically it will ask for all the possible types of variables. So you can ask for a checkbox. You can ask for a single line of text, multi-line of text, validated integer and float. You can specify an option as a drop-down. You can specify a radio or a checklist. Ask for time and date. You can ask for an item in a number of ways, basically in a tree list, in a multi-list. You know, all the kinds of types of item that you might want. You can ask for a user or a role, or for user or role, and you can ask for the user to provide a rule for you. So basically with a okay, there's a bit of script underneath it. But normally this kind of dialogue, building this kind of dialogue, would take, you know, a number of days, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
With PowerShell, you can just say, okay, just give me ask the user with those kind of titles and subtitles, with this, you know, proceed and abort, or okay and cancel, and ask him for a rule. And this is basically what all the dialogues in the in PowerShell console are driven from. So we could basically say, if we if we need it, is let's say we've got a $, which is we want to ask for an item. So let me just say read variable. And parameters, and I want to say name is going to be an item, and the editor is going to be an item editor, and I specify a semicolon here, and I want to say that the root of it is going to be within the Sitecore content, and yeah, that's it. And let's just finish the script, executing it here so that the rest of our script doesn't happen.
Okay.
There we go. That's all that you need to ask the user for an item, and then once the user will provide it, let's just display this item. So let's ask them again. Using colors. There you go. We've got the item, the menu item returned to us. So this is really all that you need to do with a single line of text. You can ask the user about anything within all the integration points that we have specified, which is the content, menu item, the toolbox, the reports that Mikey shown you the last time, and basically all the integrations that we have provided. But let's get back to our functionality, and let's help Mike make sure that his scripts are published. Now, to be honest, I don't really like that this is inside the plugin. I kind of think about it. It's kind of like my backend business functionality that I don't want to be stored directly in the plugin. So I'm just going to turn it into functions, and I'm going to drop it somewhere else, and the plugin is just going to be using it. So I'm just going to make 2 functions out of it. I'm going to name the first one find unpublished scripts, and my function is going to take I'm just going to make it a commandlet. So I'm just going to add this this little attribute to tell PowerShell that this is a commandlet, so that I'm actually getting the benefit of being able to calling it like a commandlet, which I will show you in a moment. And I'm going to say that this commandlet is going to have a single parameter, which is, let's just name it the same, selection. Just big letter, and let's wrap all of this functionality up to showing in this one, in this find unpublished scripts function. Okay, so I'm going to do the same with this. I'm just going to say, okay, I'm going to need scripts as my input, but I'm going to say this is a display unpublished scripts, and I'm also going to run the function. So I've got 2 functions right now. So when I will execute just this, nothing will happen because I have functions. I have no functionality in my script itself. It's just it's just 2 bits of code wrapped in functions. So when I execute it, nothing happens, as it shouldn't, because those functions are never executed. I'm just going to use the other plugin that I've ported to SPE, format this script automatically. It's so cool. Right, okay. So I've got those functions, but they are still in my plugin. I'm going to copy them, and I'm going to actually, since those are only functions, I'm going to save them as function. So in my Sitecore Experience module, I'm going to create an additional integration point for shared functions. and I'm going to name, now refresh, and I'm going to save this in my function as find unpublished scripts. There we go. Now it's Sitecore experience functions find unpublished scripts. So let me now open the plugin again, and you can see in 3.2 what I've added was basically we've got so many scripts right now, and so many, I'm working on so many different elements of it that I got really tired of just every time opening this. Then we've got this what's starting to be unmanageable number of modules. Then if I need to change something in the platform, I need to go in here, develop integration, find the script in here, which is really not efficient. And to be honest, if there is something consistent about what I'm doing, everything is about the speed, efficiency, and just basically doing the stuff the fastest way that you can. So I'm just going to say I can. I've added this search button where I can just type the part of the name of the tree, and it will just find the script, all the scripts that contain this this text in the name. If I know that I've got them in either master or web, I can say okay, I want to search only web. I don't have any scripts there, but I can search it in master. There we go. I've got 2 scripts in master, right? But if I'm going to say serialize, I've got both in master and web. I will show both master and web, as you can see. Okay. So the unpublished scripts containing, I'm going to open this plugin, and I've placed it into function, so I don't need this any longer, but I need to call them. Right? So I'm going to now import the function that I've saved, and name, and my find and published script is here. As you remember, we're doing this stuff dynamically. So when I will execute this functionality, it just basically executes the script that is in that function. So I will have those functions at my disposal. So now I can do. Let me just switch into the reusable session. So that I can, when I will execute this, I will have my functions available to me. So find unpublished scripts, and because I have added the commandlet bindings, I can actually find the parameters automatically. So I've got this selection text, and I can say this now $selection text, and I can assign the results from this function into my scripts, and I can say display unpublished scripts, and in the parameter scripts I can provide the scripts. Now my plugin is much cleaner. All the functionality that I wanted is in the unpublished script function. So I've got so I can now find, let's say I want to find all the scripts that contain this text. So we've got a clean commandlet, we've got the information displayed when I want. Now, what else can I do with it? So I kind of want my, since I don't really know when I'm going to need it, I'm just going to also add it to my toolbox. So I'm going to save my script as a toolbox. Item. So I'm going to save as, and in my Sitecore Experienced module, I'm going to insert integration for toolbox. Sorry, crash, published script, and there we go. We've got an unpublished script in here, right? Okay, but what about this text that I'm not providing in here that came from the platform? Well, you remember that I'm asking for it if it's not provided, so I can say published, and I've got all the items. I've got all the items here plus one. Okay, well, that might need some attention, but you know, but it's basically all this information is now exposable in all those scenarios if you structure your code right. So that's from the point of integration points that are kind of immediately, you know, that you have already kind of had an ability to see in one presentation or another. Now, I don't know if this is enough. Since I've got this nicely modularized right now, I kind of want to execute it from the RESTful API as well, because you know, Mikey might be building some kind of continuous integration, and he is going to be wanting to have a JavaScript checking this whether his scripts have been published. So I'm just going to get those two lines, and I'm going to expose it as a web API script. So I'm going to just delete this one and save. Save this script as web API script. To create integration for the script. And crash so that I can save it. And I'm going to save it as published scripts. Okay, so and this time I'm going to just return this information of all the unpublished scripts. Now I'm just going to execute this script, and it's not necessarily going to be pretty at first, as I haven't really published scripts. Let me just open it. It seems like my server is going further.
So basically you can find your script through the handler itself to locate.
This is one thing, and this is a thing that Mikey has shown you. I'm just going to restart it really quickly.
Sure.
So in this web API, I actually need to add this initialization of this control so that my dialog won't pop up, right? So I'm just going to open it quickly that it's there? Yep, it's there. So in my web, I'm actually, I know that I don't have it in my web, so I'm logged in, so I can use master. But if I had it in web, I can also provide an additional parameter like user equals admin, and obviously password key. And I could then also use the this RESTful API from the master database. I thought really hard about, you know, whether I should use tokens and encryption of the credentials and all this kind of stuff. But basically, I don't think the tokens that are in the item API really gives you security. They give you an appearance of security, because if you get a hold of the token, well, I don't care about your credentials, I'll just use the token. Right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So instead of almost pretending it's secure, just use HTTPS. If you're doing this kind of stuff, use HTTPS. Just don't just put it in the URL. No one will know it's HTTPS. It's a secure channel. Just do it this way. Okay. So when I execute the script, I'm just getting the text from the script through my RESTful API, right? It's really, I didn't provide the selection text. So in here I'm just zeroing it, so I'm returning all the scripts. But actually, from the RESTful API, whatever I provide as a parameter, is going to make its way into the script, and I'm just going to, and this selection text is actually defined right now because I provided it from the parameter. So think what can be done with this. I mean, you can actually build a RESTful API with this using the using just a simple single script. Okay, I'm not getting anything that I can use from JavaScript right now, but nothing is preventing me from actually turning it into a JSON. So PowerShell gives you really easy ability to turn stuff into JSON. So I'm just going to do this. I've got my, if you look for JSON, there is a script that is doing just this. I'm just going to copy this script and turn our RESTful API into a true kind of JSON API. So I've got this copied. Now I'm just going to go back into my web API script and paste it in here, and I'm not going to need this. I'm going to turn this response into application JSON so that the JavaScript knows that it's JSON. And I'm just going to find my unpublished script and turn it into scripts. Variable. So I've got my scripts here, and now rather than taking the children of the current item, I'm just going to type my scripts into this bit of code, which basically says select object, and those elements that I have, it's just okay, display path, paths path as path, then name as, and display name and template name, language version and path. So all those fields I need in my JavaScript API. Now I want to convert it into a JSON, and this is PowerShell built-in functionality. So let me execute this. And you can see that I'm actually getting a JSON representation of those objects. Oh, I clicked on a grid. Probably will open content editor, or maybe not. And I will actually get the JSON with up to depth 2. I actually want this to be a parameter as well. And I'm going to say, if it's not defined, if depth is null, just make it 2. So when I will save that and execute my script again, I'm actually getting a JSON on a level 2. But I don't want to go that deep, so I'm going to actually provide depth on a level 1. Isn't that
That's awesome.
Nice.
right? So think about how you can parameterize it, how you can actually build your pieces of functionality into, into something that you can easily expose into your JSON API and just roll with it. Obviously, in a long term scenario, you might not want to stay with the module as something that is driving your business application, because there might be challenges, might be but it might be either performance stuff. I mean, we have to create a session for it, and this kind of stuff, and it might be intensive. But quickly prototyping an API for for your speed control or something like this, it's just perfect. So for this, I mean, if you want to just do some quick status check for your content delivery server, you can parameterize it. You can actually say, okay, give me from this date to this date, and it can act on those variables that you provide in parameters. Now the last check for Mikey, whether it's something is published or not published. Just to make sure that he's not using the stuff that is not published, and he has a clear thing showing him that something is not usable. Let's just create one new thing. Basically, I want to create a content editor warning that will show me when I click on an item on a script in content editor, that actually this script, that is an web API script, is not published. So let me quickly open. We've got a expiring license content editor warning, and this is basically how I'm doing all my scripts. I'm just looking at how I built it the first time, or how someone has built it the first time, and just copy from there. So okay, so I can see that what I need to do is I've got the pipeline arcs, which is something that I'm getting from the environment, from the integration point, and I can act upon it. So I can copy this little bit of script and go back to my little script, so I can easily create a new. Actually, it wouldn't open the proper place, but sorry. So I've got Sitecore experience. I'm just going to create a new integration point for content editor warning, and content editor warning. Let's create it fresh, and I'm going to save in here a script published warning. Now just paste it in here, and I'm just going to say this icon. This. And I'm not going to need the rest of it. Okay. So, so I've got my item. Now I can start checking. So I want to check if it's published, right? So I'm just going to do the same that I did before. So if it's not, if the path doesn't exist in the web data, so I'm going to test test the path, and to need additional parentheses here to wrap the negation and test path for web database, and again like it before, path. So just basically test if path does not exist, and also if it. I really only care if the script is published if it's a web API script, because only then I really want it in my database. So I'm going to also say that if the current item path will match the web API, and there we go. I'm just going to add this warning then, and I'm going to say this web API. Oh, it should be there. Sorry, this web API script is not published, and you need to publish the script for it to be available to us users. That's cool. Okay. Now let's see. Let's save that. And pray I haven't done something wrong. So in the modules, in my PowerShell, in my script library, in Sitecore Experience, when I click on my script that is not published because I haven't published it, it's showing in here.
Yep.
An editor warning. If I will check any other script, it doesn't really pop up because it's script and it's not in the web API. Now if I will go into examples, so in getting started web API, those scripts are published and they don't show a warning. So hey!
Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we're getting quite a sophisticated check. Okay, is it not published and in this, you know, in the web API, and then show the content editor warning?
Very easily.
2, 3, 4, yeah, lines of code, right? So that is really it. I think now Mikey is safe. He can verify that his scripts are published before going with you can just tell that in every way possible. So there you go. And basically from there, since we've got everything in the Sitecore Experience module, just like Mikey said, you can script packaging, quick download this package, put it on the marketplace, send it on your CD instance, send it to production, you know, give it to anyone who has PowerShell installed, and it will just work without any server restart, without any additional hassle. if you want to, you know, if you've got some, like we've got a whole set of scripts for in Cognified for Zen Garden defined. You can just if you want to enable them only conditionally or only at some point. I mean, everything that needs to be done is I disable the module, save it. You can actually see that the module now is has the red cross on top of it, and the API doesn't work any longer. The module doesn't show in the toolbox. The plugin is gone from the ribbon. It's just basically like the module was never there. So you can easily turn on and off all kinds of functionalities, and just basically self-contained, switch on, switch off, export, import, and just completely effortlessly from the point of view of managing. And you know what we've done in half an hour, all those integrations with all the dialogues that you would have to build. It's just the functional. It's just it just basically solves a whole class of problems. Yeah, it truly is a Swiss knife.
It's definitely
of the
very cool.
Sitecore content management.
Very powerful Swiss
Yes.
knife. By all means, it's excellent.
Yeah, and I just
very
I love
good.
the polish you guys have built in with the IntelliSense and with the contextual help that you can pop up. It's really an awesome looking product.
It
Thank
flows
you.
very, very well.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we've been putting a lot of time. I mean, and it kind of seems to be snowballing when you look at the GitHub, at the number of issues. We've done the previous one. I think had about 40 or 50 issues, and it took us a quarter. And since then, within a month or month and a half, we basically went with the next version. It kind of, yeah. I mean, the more we do on it, the more obsessed with it we become. And I think it's just basically because we get fantastic reactions from the community, and we see people using it, and we love hearing about people using it, and it's just it's just a blast to see people enjoying it and discovering stuff and reporting in the GitHub the issues that if they encounter. It's been a great trip. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. We're
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on.
I need to show it because Martin would be. I would hear to no end. Yeah. It's yeah. We need. If you have an idea, just please report it on the GitHub. As I said, we are obsessively compulsively implementing them. So. Yeah.
giving away a lot of shirts.
Engage us.
Excellent. Thank you for coming on. It's been an honor to have you on
Definitely.
to talk about this.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
All right.
Last. Yeah.
Perfect.
Cheers, guys.